Hi, welcome back. I'm Sifu Wayne, author of the Wing Chun Compendium series of books and head instructor of the Canadian Wing Chun Academy. I'd like to welcome you to the next in a series of video question and answer sessions. Let's head on out to the studio. Shifting essentially serves two purposes as I see it. The first is to be able to redirect incoming force by rotation. So for example, if you can think of something that you have something that rotates. If there's an incoming force, you want it to act so that the force gets redirected. Kind of like a log in water. You push on it, it doesn't take the force, it rolls or it redirects so that the force can be dissipated. The second purpose of shifting, as I see it, is to be able to stay square or facing an opponent. So if I'm standing here and my opponent goes over there, I want to be able to shift or rotate so I can stay square to them. So both of my hands can be used equally, are the same distance from the opponent, so they can both strike or block and strike. In order to accomplish this, we keep our foundation on our heel. We rotate on our heels. Keeping the feet parallel. So we won't do 1, 2. We're going to keep the hip forward and just rotate like a turret. Now, a few of you out there might be thinking, hey, well, what about shifting on your toes? And that's a good question. I'll address that in a little bit. But first, let me say a little bit about the shifting. When I take my stance and I shift, I have a few options. I'm not going to say which of these options are better or worse. What I will say is each of these options has some advantages and some disadvantages. And then I'll let the situation dictate which one we should actually use. So first, I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to rotate about what some people call my center line. I'll call it, in this case, appropriately, my rotational axis. And I'm not going to move my center. This stays. Just like the Timmy's cup, I can then very efficiently rotate that force off and have minimal movement to dissipate the force and counterattack. Having said that, I also want the option, if there's strong incoming force, I also want the option to get the heck out of the way. Now, when I rotate this way and keep my rotational axis in the same place, I get to keep both my heels in the same spot with the same amount of pressure. Keeps me well rooted. When I move my rotational axis to the side, by moving my rotational axis, I introduce additional movement into the technique. Anytime I introduce additional movement into a technique, there's opportunity for an opponent to detect that additional movement and keep me moving in the direction I'm going by charging. So when I start to go this way, it's possible an opponent will charge me and keep me going this way. So most martial arts feel that the heel, including us, feel that the heel is the source of power or the source of rootedness. So when they step, they'll step and be sure to keep the heel down because a raised heel has reduced power. We keep that in play. We use that concept when we shift. So what I'm going to propose is that if I was to shift on my toes in order to get out of the way, I'm going to propose that what I do is actually uproot myself. I kind of take a mini step. Some people might say a shuffle step. But what I'm doing is I'm lifting the heel of one or both of my feet in order to get into a different position. By lifting my heels, a lot of people believe I'm lifting my root, so I'm becoming unrooted, and I'm therefore susceptible to being charged and thrown or beat up, otherwise beat up. What I want to say is not necessarily, again, good or bad. What I want to say is the more movement you introduce, the more chance is the skilled opponent will detect that movement and keep you going in the direction that you are going in. And if you've lifted up your heel to do this movement, then the chances that you can defend against such a charge are slimmer. So that may make it sound like I'm saying don't do it, and that's not the case. What I will say is this is a very fast maneuver, very effective for getting out of the way quickly. So it's a cost-benefit thing. I can get out of the way quickly, but I have to take more risk. Kind of like BUG. Thank you very much for listening, spending the time with me again this week. Next week I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to talk about, so please send in some suggestions to me. Until then, thank you very much. Have a great week. Bye for now.